Hi, I'm Paul Pastor, author of a kid's book about God, and I'm very excited to share this with you today. I loved writing it, and I love reading it for kids and for their grown-ups, so I'm very much looking forward to this. Let's get started. For Elia, Emmaus, and Marcos Arcturus Pastor, I love you, Dad. Intro. An old saying tells us that we shouldn't discuss religion in polite company. When it comes to kids, the old saying is wrong. Kids are naturally curious about the biggest human ideas. Both as a parent and as someone who works at the intersections of theology and culture, I often see the difference between the honest, free way that kids discuss matters of the soul and the many complications that we bring to spirituality as we age. There's another saying I heard from a friend once. People don't find harmony by going around their true beliefs, but by going through them. I don't know what you do or don't believe about God. What I hope to do in this short book is simply help start a conversation, one not focused on finding all the perfect answers, but on seeking the really good questions. Will you join me? Hi, I'm Paul. I'm a pretty ordinary guy. Like a lot of people, I believe in God. But talking about God isn't always easy. I mean, how do you talk about something as big and wild as God? Do you start by closing your eyes and saying a prayer? Do you start by looking up at the sky? Do you start by jumping up and down on one leg and touching your nose? You might want to try that just in case. Talking about God is difficult because everyone seems to have different ideas about God. Some people don't think God is real. For other people, it seems like God is the only thing they talk about. And some people are just sort of shruggy and in between, like they would rather go to the dentist than talk about God. What's up with that? No matter what we believe, shouldn't we talk about God? What do you think? No, really, what do you think? Talk about it with the person reading this book or the grown-up with you right now. Okay then, what is the point of this book anyway? The point of this book is not to give you all the answers. Answers can be for another time. I don't even have all the questions about God. The point of this book is to get us talking. Because I think God is super important for kids and grown-ups to talk about. So, let's talk. God. What do you think of when you hear that word? A big bearded old man in the sky? A crazy giant carrying thunderbolts around and smiting stuff? Mother Earth? A flying spaghetti monster? Or a great big nothing? It's also okay if you don't think of anything at all. You might think of 100 different things, but you also probably have some questions. Great! Because right now, I want to talk, and talking starts best with questions. Now, you're big enough to know that questions about God can be big or little, serious or silly, long or short. The most important thing is to just ask questions, the ones you are really wondering. So let's practice this for a minute. Maybe you're wondering, who made the world? Who made me? Why do bad things happen? Like, really bad things? Is God even real? If God is real, is God good? Does God care about me? What happens when things die? What happens... Does God have hair? That's a good question. Who made God? How can I live a good life? Is God watching me all the time, even when I poop? Who knows what is really true? Does God laugh? Does God cry? Does God ever take a vacation? Why doesn't God stop bad stuff? Why do some people say God has so many rules? Why can't I see God? Whoa, some of those are silly, and some of them are pretty tough, but they are real. Okay, what is one thing you wonder right now about God? Hey, grown-up, don't forget to really listen when kids ask questions. Grown-up, have you ever really wondered anything about God? Hey, kid, your turn to listen for a quick minute. Wow, those are good questions. And hey, look what just happened. All of a sudden, you're talking about the really big questions of life. This is why it's important that we talk about God. Because when we do, we start connecting. We start really seeing the world and each other. We can take what's inside us and talk about it a little more. But sometimes we end up arguing about God. If I say there is one God, someone, somewhere will think, no, there are lots of gods. If I say that God cares about us, someone, somewhere will say, God doesn't care. God has left us all alone here. If I say that we can really know God, like we would know another person, someone somewhere will say, we can't know God. God is too different from us. If I say that God is real, someone somewhere will say, there is no God. There's only nature. The arguments about God could go on and on. They have gone on and on for thousands of years. And this isn't necessarily bad. What's bad is when we're mean to each other, or try and hurt one another because we don't agree about God. And do you know why this is bad? Because I believe God is love. By the way, I didn't come up with that. And the exact millisecond we stop loving, no matter what we believe, or how good we are at following the rules, or how much we pray, or whatever, we are beginning to miss the point completely. I believe it is through real love that we know God. So even though there are a bunch of things that I believe about God in my head, and all of those things matter a lot, what's most important is what's happening in my heart. The truth is, none of us are perfect. And the love of the God I believe in is always welcoming, always strong, and always knows what I need to grow in my love. So whether or not you believe in a different God or no God at all, whether you change your mind a couple or 1,000,000 times about what you think or believe, whether your ideas make you happy or sad or confused, learning to know God is a journey. You get to ask questions. You get to wonder. You get to have fun. You get to think. You get to pray and sing and play and dance and paint out your thoughts and feelings about God. So let's keep talking. Let's keep asking questions. Keep wondering and loving what is true. Because you know something? I don't think we'll ever have to stop. As you close this book, I invite you to return to the fresh curiosity, honesty, and freedom that children manifest in matters of the Spirit. Learn from the kids in your life. Be a little more like them. And also consider joining me in trying to say more about God rather than less. Be humble and honest, of course, and never overbearing. But don't hold back what you really believe. If you do, you will be quietly teaching your kid that either these conversations don't really matter, or they're scary. Neither of those postures encourage a rich spiritual life. Let's wonder together. Let's ask the big questions and seek the truth and knock on the door of our own hearts. Let's be open to the love and strength of the great Spirit of life, who is not far from any one of us, and in whom we live and move and have our being. God bless you. I sure enjoyed reading that for you today. I hope you can buy this book and share it with people in your life. And more than anything, I hope you keep talking about God.